Spec house development is simply new construction ground up. You're speculating that you're going to sell the house after it's completed. That's what a spec house is. It's a house you're building on speculation that you're going to be able to sell it. So with spec houses, it's the same as flipping. You want to make sure that you start with the end value. What are houses selling for? What can you sell a brand new construction house for? You got to do your comps, talk to agents, go look at new subdivisions that are being built, talk to the general contractors that are building custom homes in the price range that you want to build in. You don't want to talk to a high-end luxury custom home builder that only does $1 million and up houses if you want to build a $300,000 spec house. Conversely, you don't want to talk to a guy that's building $300,000 spec houses if you're going to build $1 million plus homes. Now, sometimes you can help somebody grow their business to the next level by doing a little bit higher end, but you need to make sure they understand what quality is and how to get to that quality level of a higher end house. So you want to find the sweet spot in your market. What's the price point that's selling the best, just like when you're flipping. You want to work it backwards. And you want to have you want to have a 25 to 30% margin in a spec house. And generally you can pay 20 to 30% for the land finished, for a finished lot, based on the cost of the house. So if you're selling a house for $500,000, you should be able to pay $100,000 to $150,000 for that lot, depending on where you're at and what area and how much that house will sell for. I like to be on the lower end of 20, 25%. Most national and regional home builders pay 20 to 25% for finished lots. So if you're developing raw land and you want to sell to a builder or a developer, they're going to be able to pay you about 20 to 25% of what that house will sell for the land. So if it sells for $200,000, you don't want to pay any more than $30,000 to $40,000 for that lot. If it sells for $300,000, you don't want to pay any more than $45,000 to $50,000 for that lot. You can pay a little bit more in some instances if the house will sell exponentially more in relation to the land. So what you want to do is you want to typically find land that is already for a house, already developed, already to be built. You want to have a general contractor do this turnkey for you. They will, preferably a design build contractor, so they can take the floor plan, modify it, do whatever, get all of your permits, make sure all the utilities are there, and handle the whole process for you turnkey. Again, you want to have a detailed specification sheet. It's called submittals for all of your selections. The more of that you have up front in advance, the better it is for everybody, including the builder, and they can give you a nice detailed price list with all your allowances in there so that you know what everything's going to cost you. Your allowances are going to be like your driveway, sometimes your site work, well and septic, things like that on the front end. And then as you go through the house, your kitchen, your appliances, your cabinets, your tops, your floor coverings, any kind of a specialty hardware package for doors and hinges, and any kind of a specialty floor covering, tile, things like that. You're going to have allowances for those areas where you can spend more or less. So if you have that dialed in, they can give you really tight numbers on those allowances. Hopefully you'll come in under them, get a little bit of money back. So the key to building a spec house is making sure that, again, you're not overbuilding for the market, you're not over improving the property, and you make sure that you've got a qualified builder that is licensed, insured, that has a track record of building a lot of homes. You want to visit their job sites that are in process. You can tell a lot about a builder, a lot about a contractor by their job site, how they keep it. Talk to the subcontractors, make sure they're happy, make sure they get paid on time. Talk to the vendors, make sure that they're happy and get paid on time. Talk to some past clients, go look at houses that they've built that are in process, and make sure that you understand what you're dealing with and that they're very experienced and have built at least 100 houses. Now, if you want to help somebody get started, that's a different conversation. You just want to make sure they're licensed, insured, have the proper financing and financials behind them so that they can finish the project. You don't want to pay them in advance. You don't want to pay them too far up front. You do have to get a working capital deposit to a builder for new construction. There's a number of ways to finance. You can use cash or you can use a construction loan. Typically, a construction loan is going to give you 80% of the cost of the project or the value, whichever is less. And so they will give you the money to take the land down and build the house minus that amount that you have to put into the deal to offset that loan to cost or loan to value, whichever is lower. So they will loan you 70 to 80% loan to cost or loan to value, whichever is lower. So if it's a $300,000 house, there's $27,000 that you'll have to put into the deal in order to make that happen. And then the bank will provide the rest. They'll pay the lot off, and they'll provide a construction loan. And the way that works is they will give the builder a 10% working capital deposit, and then they will go out and do construction draw inspection. So as the builder calls for draws, the bank will send out a representative to inspect the project progress of the construction, and then they will release the money in draws, usually 3 or 4 or 5 draws throughout the project cycle for work that's complete only. And if you're paying cash, you can hire a construction inspector or a home inspector to go out and do those inspections for you. You can get a draw sheet from a bank. The builder may have a draw sheet, and it's based on the percentage of completion of the project. So much for the site work, foundation, framing, rough end, siding, roofing, windows, etc. So you go down the list, you check off those items, and you pay after those items are complete. You always want to hold a retainage at the back end in case there's any punch work and things like that. So that is new construction in a nutshell. Infill development's a little bit different, where you can find some properties, maybe tear something down and redevelop the property. Always want to make sure before you buy a piece of land, before you buy a lot, before you buy anything that you want to develop or redevelop, that you always check with the city and the county first. Make sure that the zoning is there for you to do what you want to do. If not, what's going to be required to rezone the property. You want to make sure your utilities are there to service the property and where they're going to come from. If you're tearing something down or building new, you want to make sure that that sewer line is sufficient to service the property, and the water line. Are you going to have to replace those? Are you going to have to do anything to improve the sewer connections, water connections, or utility connections around the property? What are the permit fees and processes and timeframes, things like that. So those are the things that you want to look for when you are thinking about doing new construction and building a spec house. And again, it's all about knowing what your market wants, knowing what floor plans are hot, knowing what finishes are popular, and knowing what the value of that property is going to be. Do not overpay for your land. If it's a finished lot, you want to be 20 to 25% max of what that house is going to sell for. If you have to develop the land, then you have to be able to deliver that land at that value minus what it cost for you to improve the property, as well as having a margin in there. So you would work the land backwards. And let's say the lots are worth $30,000. You got to be able to buy the land, develop it, sell them for $30,000, and make a 20 to 30% profit on that land. So it's typically going to take you in a subdivision $10,000 to $30,000 per lot to develop a subdivision of any size, with roads, utilities, curb, gutter, things like that. Stormwater, that's a big issue. You want to make sure that you check into stormwater requirements before you build a house or try to redevelop a property. So that is new construction spec house development.